All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to preview the Cincinnati Bengals San Francisco 49ers game. So the Bengals coming off of a bye, they're coming in at 3-3. 49ers are coming in at 5-2. Dropped their last two games to the Browns and the Vikings. It looks like Brock Purdy is not going to make the start in this game. It looks like it's going to be Sam Darnold making the start. And this is a big game. This is a big game for both teams. Bengals trying to get over 500. And the 49ers are trying to get back to their winning ways because they've dropped their last two. And they kind of need a win here. And these two teams did meet a couple of years ago. I did talk about it, I think, yesterday at some point. Back in 2021, an overtime game. Niners won that game. That was when Garoppolo was the quarterback, and that was obviously the year that both teams were in the championship games that year, but the Bengals made it to the World Series. We're talking about that on the baseball podcast. It made it to the Super Bowl that year. That was a good game, and that was in Cincinnati. This is now in San Francisco. Different quarterback will be playing for the Niners, regardless if it's Purdy or Darnold, but it looks like it's Darnold. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals right now are 3-3. Niners are 5-2. The Niners looked like they were the best team in football, like by far, but that's kind of changed a little bit the last couple of weeks. They've been struggling. But let's go through the stats for this game. So, in terms of their league rankings. So on offense, the Bengals right now are 28th in passing yards per game. They're at 205. And as for the Niners, they're at 238. So they're kind of the middle of the pack as well. Purdy doesn't throw for a ton of yards. And Joe Burrow hasn't been great this year, although he's, the Bengals, they were starting to put things together, before the bye week. Again, two teams that don't throw for a ton of yards. But, and again, I don't want to discredit Brock Purdy. I mean, Brock Purdy's having a great year. Well, not the last two games, but up until that point. But in terms of rushing, the Niners are top 10. They're 7th, averaging 136.4. Bengals are 31st. They are averaging 69.8. So that's not good. And then in terms of their points per game, the Niners are 28.7, averaging 28.7 points per game. They're second. And the Bengals are 28th. They're averaging 16.7. So, yeah, a lot in the favor of the Niners. Then we go to the defensive side of the ball. And passing yards, both defenses are around the same, middle of the pack. Bengals are 15th. Niners are 16th. Bengals are giving up an average of 232.3. Niners are giving up an average of 238.9, and that definitely got inflated after what Kirk Cousins did to them the other day. In terms of rushing yards, now this is definitely key. The Niners are 3rd, and the Bengals are 29th. They're giving up an average of 142.8. Niners are giving up an average of 79.3. And who do the Niners have? Christian McCaffrey. So it's going to be a Christian McCaffrey game because he practiced. I think he logged a full practice. So, yeah, and the Bengals are not a good running team, so they're going to be throwing it on Sunday. Joe Mixon hasn't been great this year. And then points allowed, Niners are 3rd. They're giving up an average of 15.6, and the Bengals are giving up an average of 21.2. So, yeah, I mean, you favor the Niners in this game. The line was at 5.5, then it went down to 3.5. Now it's up to 4. I think it's going to be a close game. Now, Niners are going to run the ball. Bengals aren't good against the run, so the Niners with Christian McCaffrey, they're going to get him going. Because the Vikings, they kind of, he had 2 touchdowns, but they didn't really have McCaffrey breaking off huge runs other than like the passing touchdown. The 30, I think it was like a 34-yard touchdown that Brock Purdy had to McCaffrey. So McCaffrey's going to run the football well in this game. But the key here is can the Bengals offensive line protect Joe Burrow against this defensive front for the Niners? And if they're able to do that, you got to give the Bengals a good shot in this game, because I mean, you saw what the Vikings were able to do on Monday against the Niners, and listen, if you give Joe Burrow protection with those weapons, I think the Bengals are going to be able to move the ball against the Niners on Sunday. I really do. I mean, Kirk Cousins passed for 378 yards. Jordan Addison had a big game. I mean, now you got Joe Burrow coming in with Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, I think, is going to be back this week, and Tyler Boyd. So it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be close, and we'll see what Sam Darnold brings to the table. I know I brought up if if he plays well, like, is there a QB controversy? Now, I'm not saying that there should be, but the Niners do like Sam Darnold. So is it possible that if he plays well and Purdy comes back and doesn't play well, like, could we see a QB change maybe? I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But yeah. So right now, Brock Purdy actually yesterday logged a limited practice on Thursday, because he's still in concussion protocol. But we'll see. I mean, it's not set in stone yet. I mean, it's still questionable, but the way they made it seem, it was like Sam Darnold is going to start. So what's going to be funny is Brock Purdy's going to play, and this conversation, and I said it yesterday, it's not going to mean anything. So, but this is a big game for the Bengals. Right now, they're in last place in their division. They're a game and a half back of the Ravens for first place. We'll actually have a discussion about the Ravens and the Bengals later in the show, because I did get some comments on talking about the Ravens the other day. So I wanted to address that, get those comments recognized as well on the stream. So yeah, that'll be when we go over the Ravens game. We'll talk about that. So yeah, but this is we'll see what happens with the Niners. Obviously Trent Williams, he was dealing with an ankle. I think I checked yesterday, he's still questionable. So let's check that out very quick. And Deebo Samuel obviously isn't going to play in this game. Yeah, he's out. Trent Williams questionable. Yeah, right now he's still questionable with an ankle. So if they get him back, that would be huge. Orlando Brown for the Bengals, he's questionable with the groin. So yeah, the Bengals are going to need him for this game. Protecting him against that defensive front. So I mean, again, that's really the key. If they're able to protect Burrow, I think he could do something similar to what Kirk Cousins did on Monday against the Niners. I just still can't believe that they could not get any pressure on Kirk Cousins. They didn't sack him one time. I think that's a little bit concerning. I do. But, we'll just have to wait and see, how this game plays out. This is a late afternoon game. This is the number one game on CBS. I wish this was the Sunday night game, because we're going to have to watch Tyson Bagent versus Justin Herbert. So that should be fun. And we'll preview it. We'll preview it. All right, we'll get to it. But that'll be the last game we talk about on the show. But yeah, I mean, we'll still wait on the status for Brock Purdy. I mean, similar to the Bengals offense is kind of similar to the Vikings, where like they're not very good at running the football, so they're gonna have to throw it. That's basically what it's gonna be. And if the Niners don't get any pressure, then yeah, it's gonna be a problem. But I think this will be a competitive game. The Bengals are trying to get themselves back over 500 for the first time, after getting off to a slow start this year. Can the Niners win a game? What happened? back-to-back road games. Back-to-back road losses. I mean, they should have won against the Browns. I mean, if you make that field goal, they win. But that's not the case. I mean, now they're 5-2. They're looking a little vulnerable right now. But I've been saying it. Every team has had a bad loss this year. So, this season it's like a week-by-week basis. Like, you don't know, a week-to-week basis. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, you really don't. You may think you know, but then something happens and you're like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But it should be an exciting game. Two teams that have Super Bowl aspirations. I know the Bengals are in last place, but that group of players has been to a Super Bowl before, and they've been to back-to-back AFC Championship games. So yeah, they got Super Bowl aspirations. Now the Niners are in a better position right now than the Bengals are, but again, that can all change. We still got like half a season to go. But I like I said, Christian McCaffrey, they're gonna get him going. He should have a good game here. Try to get the ball to Brandon Ayuk more, because now that I'm not playing my friend who has him this week, then they could do whatever they want with him. It was just I just thought it was crazy how towards the end of that game they really just did not target Ayuk. But we'll see. Maybe get George Kittle more involved in the offense. With Debo out, the guys are gonna have to step up. In his absence. Now, obviously, you got to look at some of like Juwan Jennings and Ronnie Bell. Like those guys are gonna have to step up. Ayuk, Kittle, and McCaffrey. You don't have to worry about them, but get them involved, of course. Get Kittle and get Ayuk more involved. No matter who's playing quarterback this week. So, but yeah, ultimately it's going to come down to can the Bengals protect Joe Burrow in this game, and if they don't, then the Bengals really don't have I shouldn't say they really don't have a chance, but it's you would definitely lean more towards the Niners in this game. And I think you probably still do, just because the Niners are home and they're due for a win at some point. But I think the Bengals keep it close. And I think, with the bye week, that definitely had to help Burrow's calf. So, because he was starting to move around a little bit better. So we'll see how he is, out of the bye week. It's a good test, but, you're afraid because it's against, one of the best defensive fronts in football. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this topic, previewing this game. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we'll preview the early window games for Sunday. We'll go over that when we come back. But again, I just want to remind you guys, when it comes to tipping, to become a big part of the show. Make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show better. It's, the host interacting with the viewer. I talk about your comment. I make sure to highlight it in the broadcast, that it makes the show a whole lot better. So, we greatly appreciate it if you do that. Again, it's streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. The link's right there. And it's also on the ticker on the bottom. And then, of course, for the bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this live broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network, and that is where you can find all the exclusive content from all of our podcasts here on the GSMC Sports Network. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we will discuss the early window games for this week. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.